Hello, in this video I will do an ASVAB arithmetic reasoning practice exam 6. So yeah, I think this will be the hardest practice exam. So let's begin. So question 1 says in a company with 600 employees, 75% use public transportation to commute to work and 25% use personal vehicle. How many employees arrive at work using public transportation? So there's a total of 600 employees, 75% use public transportation to commute, and 25 use personal vehicles. Okay. So what they're really asking is how many employees arrive at work using public transportation? There's 25%, and then there's 600 employees. So what they're saying is oh, public, sorry, public, not personal. So there's 75% who use public transportation. So they're saying it's really saying what is 75% of 600. Okay. So, the word what is your unknown. The word is equal. 75% in decimal would be 0.75. The word of means multiplication. And then just multiply 600 times 0.75. So if you want, 600 goes on top. And when you do the work, it should give you 450. So it would be letter D. 450 employees are using public transportation. Okay, let's move on. Question 2 says, Emily reads 3 hardcover novels and 6 soft cover novels. If she reads twice as many nonfiction books as the total number of novels, how many nonfiction books did Emily read? So let's figure out what I would do is first figure out how many total novels she read in total. So she read 3 hard and 6 soft, right? So there's a total of 9 total novels. Okay. Then the second part of work could be a little bit tricky. It says, if she reads twice as many nonfiction, if she reads twice as many nonfiction books as a total number of novels, how many nonfiction books did Emily read? So the nonfiction is basically 2 times your total, right? Your nonfiction is because it says, if she reads twice as many nonfiction books as the total number of novels, um, it's really saying 2 times the total novels. That'll give us your nonfiction. So it's really 2 times 9, which is 18. Okay. Question 3. The volume of a cube is 125 cubic meters. What is the surface area of the cube? So just note, a surface area is basically adding up all the areas of that figure. So, and we also know a cube is like a square, but like with 6 faces, right? So trying my best, but this is a cube and it has a total of six faces. And each cube is like a square, right? And we know a square, um, the area of a square is length times width. And what else do we know? In a square, um, all sides are the same, right? So let's see what we know. So the volume of a cube is 125. What is the volume of the cube? A volume of a cube is basically length times width times height. And then just replace that V with 125. Because it's a cube, you can also say it's the same thing as S times S times S or S cubed, right? And then you want to solve for S, so you gotta raise everything to the 1/3. So S is going to be, what's 125 raised to the 1/3? It's 5, right? 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. Okay, so see, there's like six faces. One, two, three, four, five, six. So there's what is the surface area? So if you find that, you just got to find the area of one face and times it by six. So the area of one face, each side is 5 by 5. So it's 5 times 5, which is 25. And then because there's six faces, all you got to do is multiply it by six, and then that'll give us your surface area. So that comes out as 25 times 6 is 150 square meters. So letter D. Good. If I'm going too fast, you can always pause the video and then do the problem more slowly. Um, Question four. Ella eats 1/5 of a cake and divides the remaining cake equally between her four siblings. What percentage of the cake does each sibling have? So there's two ways you could do this problem. One way is, let's see, you could draw your cake. So imagine you have a cake and you have exactly five pieces. So make that into five pieces. One, two, three. You don't have to make it equally because just make five pieces. One, two, three, four. That is not five. That's six. So here's five. One, two, three, four, five. Okay, so there's um five pieces, and then Ella ate one piece. So eliminate this piece. Now you're left with how many pieces left? One, two, three, four, right? You're left with four out of five. And then this is your remainder, and then she just divided by her four siblings, so you're dividing this by four, right? And then when you're dividing fractions, you can cross multiply. So 1 times 4 is 4, and 5 times 4 is 20. And then try to reduce this could be reduced by 4, so this is 1 over 20 divided by 4 is 5. And then this could be, they want a percentage, so we have to do our long division. So put a placeholder under 1, put a 0, and then how many times does 5 go into 10? 2. Right? Now they want a percentage, so you have to multiply this by 100. So move the decimal places two places to the right. 1, 2. That'd be 20%. Okay. The other way you could do is you could do it this way. If Ella eats 1/5, so yeah, so 1/5, if Ella eats 1/5, so 1/5 is the same thing as 20%. So what that means is Ella ate 20%. So from the whole 100%, right? The whole cake was originally 100. She ate 20%, so that gives you 80%. And then do 80% divided by 4. So careful, this is 80%, so we got to convert this percentage to a decimal. So how do you convert 80% as a decimal? All you got to do is move the decimal place 2 places to the left. So that's really 0.80 over 4. And then if you do that long division, it's going to be dot, and then how many times does 4 go? 80, twice, 20. And then move it 2 places to the right because they want it a percentage, so that's going to be 20%. Okay. Question 5. Emily's favorite book is 300 pages, 312 pages long. Sarah's favorite book is 268 pages long. How many pages longer is Emily's favorite book compared to Sarah? So this is a simple one. Whenever I hear the word how many pages longer, I automatically assume subtraction. So really it's just 3 112 minus 268, right? Or it's Emily's minus Sarah's, right? So Emily's is 312 minus Sarah, which is 268. And that's going to give you 44 pages. Okay. So yeah, letter B. That was a pretty simple one. So you please, yeah, don't get this one wrong. Okay. Number 6, Emily collects baseball cards. Each card could be traded for 25 cents. If Emily receives 37.50, how many baseball cards did she trade? So this is kind of like a linear equation problem. So you're going to use the equation y equals mx plus b. And then we got to figure out our m. Do we even have a b? And what is our y, right? So remember, m is the slope or the uncontrolled value. So m would be each card can be traded for 25 cents. So I think our m is going to be 0.25. And we don't have a b. Our b, we don't have a starting point. So our b is just 0 or nothing. And they do give us a y value. They're saying that Ella receives 37.50. So our y value is their cost in dollars. So you just replace y with 37.50. And my m is 0.25x. Okay. Now x represents how many baseball cards did she trade? So yeah, baseball cards. Okay, go ahead and solve for x. You're going to divide this by 0.25. Divide this by 0.25. Okay. So this can be forgetful if you forget how to divide with decimals. So I'm going to explain. So how do you divide 37.50 divided by 0.25? Um, I think we learned this like way back in middle school, but it's very easy to forget. 37.50 divided by 0.25, right? The numerator always goes inside the box. The denominator always goes outside. Now, you can't have a decimal in the outside of the box, right? So you're gonna have to rewrite your problem. So I'm gonna count how many decimal places to the right is this. There's a total of 2 places to the right, 1, 2. So that's gonna be 25. And then because we move it 2 places to the right, we're gonna move this decimal 2 places to the right. So that's gonna be 3750. Okay. And then just do your algebra. So you actually make sure you align this decimal right here. So how many times does 25 go into 37 once? And you put it above the 7. And then 37 minus 25 is, um, let's see, 7 minus 5 is 2, 3 minus 1 is 2. I mean 1, and then bring down the 5. How many times does 25 go into 125? 5. And then bring down the 0. How many times does 25 go into 0? 0. So it would be 150 cards. Okay, this one says a recipe for pancakes requires 1 cup of flour and 1 egg. If you have 6 cups of flour and 9 eggs, how many batches of pancakes can you make? So this is a trick question. They give you extra amount of eggs, but that eggs won't give you much. You need at least 1 cup for each batch, right? 1 cup of flour for each batch. So what they're really saying is for one pancake, it requires 1 flour and 1 egg, right? 2 pancakes equals 2 flours, 2 eggs. And then 3 pancake mix requires 3 flours and 3 eggs, etc. Now, they're asking you how many batches, if you have 6 cups of flours. So 6 pancakes requires 6 flours and 6 eggs. We have 9 eggs. That's okay. You might have extra eggs, but you can't do that extra eggs doesn't make it more batches, right? So it's really just the amount of flours. So we only have 6 flours. That means we can only make 6 pancakes. Okay, letter A. Okay, let's move on. Question 8. A rope measuring 20 feet long is cut into pieces measuring exactly 9 inches. How many smaller pieces of rope are there that measures exactly 9 inches? So imagine you have this rope and it's exactly 20 feet long, right? And then we want to cut it in increments of 9 inches each, right? Okay, how many 9 inches do we have? Well, you're gonna have to do some conversion because this is in feet and we're in inches. So we gotta first convert the rope in inches, right? So 20 feet, we know that 1 feet is 12 inches. So what's 20 times 12? It is 240 inches, right? So this rope is really now 240 inches. And then all we got to do is divide it by 9, right? 240 divided by 9. So this will be twice. 24 minus 18 is 6. Bring down the 0. How many times does 9 go into 60? 6. Now you may have pieces left, but that's not gonna be, we want it exactly 9 inches, so we can make a maximum of 26 pieces. Or 26 pieces. Okay, so letter C. Okay, this one, this one. So this one is a trig problem. In the ASVAB, there's no real calculus, but there is a few trig problems. It's pretty simple though. It's usually the Pythagorean theorem. So if you know that, you can do this one. So in the hypo if the hypotenuse of a one side right angle triangle are 25 centimeters and 7 centimeters, find the other side. So they're giving you a hypotenuse, which is 25 centimeters, and then they give you a leg that's 7 centimeters. Find the other side, or basically find the other leg. So you draw your image. Here's a right triangle, right? And put a little box symbol because that means right triangle. And then they're saying the hypotenuse is 25, and I'm going to put 25 here because how do I know this is the hypotenuse? Because this is facing right directly across the box symbol. That's how you know that's the hypotenuse. And then one of my leg is 7, and then we got to find out the other leg. So what we can use is called the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, because they said it's a right triangle, right? So A is a leg, B is a leg, C is a hypotenuse. So one of my legs was given as C square. I don't know my other leg, so I'll just call it X. And then my hypotenuse is 25 squared. So what is 7 square? 49. What is 25 square? It is 25 square is 625, right? It's like 25 times 25, which is 625. And then subtract 49. What's 625 minus 49? 576. Take the square root and you get x equals 24. So I know you can't use a calculator. So how do I know this? Well, just think of what number times itself gives you 576. Um, you can try looking at the choices. 18, too small. 24. I mean, you can just try to do it in using pen, pencil, paper. 24 times 4 is 16. Carry the 1. 4 times 2 is 8, 9. Placeholder. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 2 is 4. 6. 9 plus 8 is 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. There you go. So that's how I know it was 24. I have to, yeah, sometimes you just have to agree. Sometimes there won't be a perfect number. Like they'll have like decimals. You just have to pick the best one. Okay. When 10. Okay, 10 says Jasmine has 25 quarters, 40 dimes, and 15 nickels. The total amount of money is. So all you gotta do is, yeah, you just gotta do what you gotta do, like 25 quarters, and you know a quarter is 25 cents, right? And then we have 40 dimes. We know a dime is 10 cents. And we know a nickel is 15, so 15 times 0.05. So that's going to be, what's 25 times 0.25? 6.25. What's 40 times 10? 4. What's 15.05? 15 times 0.05? 0.75. Put it all together. So remember, when you're adding or subtracting with decimals, you do got to line up the decimals. 40 has a decimal right at the very end. When you add them up, 5 plus 5 is 10. Carry the 1, 11. There you go. Okay, let's do question 11. Sarah spent $40 while dining out. If the bill totaled $32 before the tip was added, approximately what percent did Sarah leave? So the minute I hear the word percentage, I know I'm going to use the formula new minus old over old times by 100, right? So new minus old over old times it by 100, and that'll give us your percentage. So first we got to figure out our new. So our new value was the new $40. The old value before the tip was $32. So it's going to be 40 minus 32 over 32. And you times that by 100, right? So 40 minus 32 is what? 8 over 32. Then what I could do is like reduce this. It'll make your life easier. So this would be 1 over 4. Now they want a percentage, so we got to do the long division. 1 is in the numerator. 1 goes inside the box, 4 goes outside. I know 4 is too big for 1, so this is where you have to put a decimal and add an extra 0. Now, how many times does 4 go into 10? Twice. 10 minus 8 is 2. Bring down the 0, that's 5. Oh, don't forget to line the decimal. And what else? Okay, so they want the percentage, so all you got to do is time this by 100, and you get 25%. That's it. Okay. Question 12. Arithmetic, arithmetic reasoning. Okay, this one is also a trick problem, but this one's a little bit trickier one. Here, let me explain. So question 12 says a right triangle has an area of 30 square meters. If one of the leg is twice as long as the other, what is the length of the hypotenuse? So I have to admit this was a little bit tricky. So go ahead and draw your triangle. Okay. We want to find this length right here. What did they tell us? They give us, remember, we have a leg, we have two legs. One leg is bigger than the other. So if one of the leg is twice, so let's call this the longer leg. And then let's call this the shorter leg, right? Okay. Now the longer leg is they're saying the longer leg, if one of the longer leg is twice as long as the other, so that's really saying 2 times x. And then the shorter leg, we don't know. We'll just call it x, right? And we got to somehow use this. We got to find out the hypotenuse. Can we use the Pythagorean theorem? Um, no, not yet, because we were only giving length of x and 2x. We need to figure out this x. So this is where you need to know the other formula. So what is the area of a triangle? It is area equals base times height over 2. And they tell us that the area is 30. And then my base times height. So this is really your base. And then this is really your height, right? So we said our base was the longer leg, which is 2x. And then the height is a shorter leg, or x. And then don't forget there's an all over 2, so that's easy to forget. Yeah, that's why I got, yeah. So over here, 2x times x is 2x squared over 2. And then you got to solve for x. So first I can cross multiply. So 30 times 2 is 60. And then you have x squared. Whoops, no, actually, right here, you don't have to cross multiply. Why? Because this cancels. 2 over 2 cancels. So it's really 30 equals x squared, and then solve for x by taking the square root. So x equals square root of 30. Okay, so now we have the length of x. That's very helpful. So now the longer leg is 2 times x, or 2 times square root of 30. And then the shorter leg is x, which is square root of 30. And then we still got to find the hypotenuse. So we're going to use Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So my leg is 2 square root of 30 squared. The other leg is square root of 30 squared equals c squared. So let's do our algebra. So 2 square root of 30 squared. What's this? What's this squared? So I know 2 squared is 4. I know radical 30 squared is, when you square a radical, it just disappears. So you're just left with 30 plus, what is radical 30 squared? When you square a radical, the radical disappears. So you're just left with 30 equals c squared. So what is 4 times 30? 120 plus 30 equals c squared. What's 120 plus 30? 150. Take the square root, and c is square root of 150. So I know you can't use a calculator. So this is where you kind of have to you kind of have to like estimate. So you could think of it as what number times itself twice gives you 150. So I know that 7.5 is too small. I know 8 times 8 is 64, too small. I know 11 squared is 121, might be too small. What about 12? Well, I know that 12 times 12 is 144. So it has to be D because there's no other choice. I mean, 13 might be too large. Um, so it has to be D. So that's what you have to do. Sometimes you just gotta estimate it. Question 13. A saving account earns 150 in interest over a year. If the interest rate is 5% annually, what is the principal amount? So this one, there's a special formula you have to use. It's not the A equals P, it's this one. You can use this formula. The interest formula, interest equals P times R times T. Um, yeah, they're asking you what is the principal. So let's isolate P. So we're going to use this formula, then I'm going to isolate P. So what I'm going to do is get rid of this RT. So I'm going to divide both sides by RT. So P is I over R times T. So my interest is, let's just fill in what we have. So my interest is 150, that was given. My rate was 5%. Let's convert that to decimal. So move it 2 places to the left. So it's 1, 2, which is 0.05. And my time is 1 year, so 1. So it's really 150 divided by 0.05. And how do we do that? 150 goes inside and then 0.05. Remember, we can't have a decimal outside, so you kind of change this problem. So move this 2 places to the right, and then you're going to move this decimal 2 places to the right. So it's really 5, and then 15000. Okay, so how many times does 5 go to 15? 3, and then you have 3 remaining zeros. So that means my answer is B. 14. Mia can type 5 pages in 10 minutes. At this rate, how long will it take her to type a 200-page document? So this is just a simple proportion problem. So how do we set up proportion? We set it up like this, and then our units, you could put pages on the top and then minutes on the bottom. So that means this also has to be pages, and then this has to be minutes, right? And then fill in our blanks. So it says that Mia can type 5 pages in 10 minutes. At this rate, how long will it take to type a 200 page? So 200 page here, and then our unknown is our time, our minutes. So we'll put an X, and then you're going to solve for X by cross multiplying. So this is going to be 5X equals 200 times 10. So 200 times 10 is 2000. Divide this by 5. This is 4, and 0, 0. Wait, did I do this right? Yeah, 400 minutes. Okay, but we have a problem. So, um, our X is 400 minutes. Our time is 400 minutes. Let's convert this in hours because if you look at all our choices is in hours, right? So how do you convert 400 minutes to an hour? Well, you're going to set up like this. We put minutes on the bottom and then hours on the top because remember the units disappears. You want the minutes to disappear. You want the hours stayed. So we know that in 1 hour there's 60 minutes. So that's like saying 400 over 60. And then the zeros cancel. So you're left with 40 over 6. I think that could be reduced by at least 2. So 40 divided by 2 is 20. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And then if you want to do the division, long division, how many times 3 come to 20? At least 6. 20 minus 18 is 2. And then bring down the 0. It would be 0.6. And then it's going to keep on going. It'll be like 6.666. And then because they rounded to 2 decimal places, so this is the second decimal place, you look at the neighbor, if it's 5 or above, you round. So that's why it's 6.67. Good. Okay, 15. Kevin's scores this month were 82, 90, 78, 85. Last month, his average score was 80. By how many points did his average score improve? So when I see the word and how many more points, I automatically means subtraction, right? So first, what I would do is let's find how much. Let's find the average rate. So how do you find the average? You basically add up all the numbers and divide it by how many terms there is. So we have 82, 90, 78, and 85, right? And then we divide it by how much numbers? There's 1, 2, 3, 4. So what's 82 plus 90, 78 plus 85? You could do that on paper, and that gives you 335 divided by 4. And then what's 335 divided by 4? So if you do the long division, this would be, let's see, 7. Is it 9 times 4 is 30? No, I think it's 8. 8 times 4 is 32. Bring down the 0, 1. And then how many times is 4 going to 15? I don't know. 3? 15 minus 2 is 3. And then just bring down the 0. It just keeps on going. 6. I mean, not 6, 7. 7 times 4 is 28. And then I think 28, and then bring down the 2, bring down the 0, so that's 5. So it's 83.75, and then all we got to do is subtracted by his average score 80. So 83.75 minus 80 is 3.75. Okay, letter D. Question 16. Sophia buys four notebooks for 550. How much does she owe if she uses a $10 credit toward her purchase? So let's figure out how much she bought. So she buys four notebooks for 550, and that gives you $22. And then she put use a credit of $10 towards her purchase. So that's like a coupon if you that's really just like a coupon. So 22 minus 10 gives you 12. That means she owes uh $12. Right, she needs 12 more dollars. So this one's not too bad, right? Yeah, so it's B. Okay, 17, the value of 20 quarters, 10 dimes, and 30 nickels is you could do this. This one's not bad, right? 20 quarters, a quarter is 25 cents. 10 dimes, so a dime is 10 cents. A nickel is 5 cents. Put it all together, 20 times 0.25 is 5. 10 times 0.110 is 1. 30 times 0.05 is 1.5. Put it all together, you get 7.5. Okay, question 18. If a truck is towed 15 miles to repair the shop and the tow charge is $4 per mile, how much does the tow cost? So it's $4 per mile, so it's really just 4 times 15. So it's really using the equation y equals mx plus b. Uh, our m is $4, and then our x is the amount of miles, so it's 4 times 15, and we don't have a b, we don't have a starting point. So really it's just $60 because 4 times 15 is 60, right? Okay, 19. The sum of two numbers is 50. One number is 6 more than the other. What is a smaller number? Okay, so imagine you have two numbers. One is a smaller number and one is a larger number. And when you add them up, it gives you 50, right? They're saying that the larger number is 6 more than the other. So how would I express that? So the larger number is 6 more than the other, or the 6 more than the smaller. So that's really 6 plus s, right? Equals 50 plus s. What is a smaller number? So now this is our new equation. So I just replace this L with 6 plus s because that's 6 more than the smaller number. And then what's 1s plus 1s? 2s. Subtract 6 from both sides. You get 2s equals 50 minus 6 is 44. Divide this by 2, and you get 22. Okay, 20. 20 says a salesperson earns a commission of 15% of the value of the product they sell. If they sell 600 worth of products in one day, how much is the commission? So this is just really saying 15% of 600, or you could think of it as what is 15% of 600, right? Or what is 15% of 600? So the word what is unknown. The word is equal 15%. Let's convert that to decimal. So all you got to do, move the decimal places two places to the left. So 1, 2. So that'd be 0.15. The word of means multiplication and then 600. So what's 0.15 times 600? It is 90. Question 21. Paint costs 75 per square foot to apply. How much will it cost to paint 12 foot by 15 foot? Okay, so when you do these problems, just make sh the good news, if you look at the units, they're all in foot. So you don't, there's no conversion, right? So imagine you have this wall that is 12 feet by 15 feet. We got to find the area, right? To find how much paint we need. So the area of this rectangle or square rectangle is length times width. So my length is 12 and my width is 15. So what's 12 times 15? 180. And then all you got to do to find the cost is 180 times the 75 cents. And then 180 times 0.75 is 135. Okay. Okay, 22. Sarah earns an hourly wage of 10.50. She receives a 5% raise. How much does Sarah make per hour? So she originally made $10.50. Um, and then yeah, she receives a 5% raise. So what they're really saying is what first we got to figure out what is 5% of 10.50, right? So it's really X is 5%. Now, how do I convert 5% as a decimal? So you just move the decimal places two places to the left. 1, 2. So that's 0.05. Of means multiplication. So that's 0.05 times 10.50 is 0.525. So this is how much she got a raise. That's not too much, like 52 cents. No, that's, yeah. She had a raise of 52, basically 53 cents, right? So all you got to do is how much does our new hourly wage is? It's 10.50 plus 0.525. And that's about 11.025. And when round to the nearest tenth, it's 11.03. So D, she makes that much now. Okay, next one, 23. A park trail measures half a mile. A park, so this one's a little tricky in the wording. A park trail measures half a mile around. How many laps would you have to walk to cover 2.5 miles? So you could set it up like this. You could, it's really, so you're given, so they're saying how many laps? So we know that one lap is 0.5 miles, right? And then had to walk cover 2.5 miles. So as you can see, the miles units disappear and then you're left with laps. So really, it's really 2.5 over 0.5. Um, and that gives you 5, I believe, right? We can't have a decimal here, so move it 2 places to the right, so that's 5. And then this is 25. Right. So it should be 5. Or you could think of it as you could set it up like this. We have 2.5 miles over this is like a rate, 0.5 miles per lap. So that still gives you 5. 24. Gregory spent 85.50 on gas in May, 92.75 in June, and 78.90 in July. What is the average monthly cost of Gregory's gas? So yeah, average, you know how to do average, you just add them up, divided by 3. Okay. So all you got to do is add 85.50 plus 92.75 plus 78.90 and then divide it all over 3. So 85, 50, 92.75, and 78.90 is 257.15. And then if you divide this by 3, if you want to do your box thing, 257.15 divided by 3, this would be 8,571. Uh, so it's actually it goes a lot larger. Uh, Here, let me show you. So, how many times does 8 go into 3 go into 25? 8 times, so that's minus 24. 25 minus 24 is 1. Bring down the 7. How many times does 3 go into 17? 5. 17 minus 15 is 2. Bring down the 1, 7. And then bring down the 5, 1, and then 5 minus 3 is 2. Bring down the 0, that's 5. So that's why they rounded to they usually round to the nearest cent or 2 decimal place. So this is going to be 7, 2. There you go. Okay, 25. Emma had a coupon for 15% off one box of cereal. The cereal box cost 3.99 each. And Emma wanted to buy 3. How much does she pay? So Emma had a coupon that's 15% off for one box of cereal. That's also one piece of information. For one box, it's 15%. And then the other two are just going to be 3.99. So yeah. that could be tricky. So what I would do is first find the cost of the discounted box, which is easy. It's really 399 times it by 0.15, which is 0.5985. And then the cost of discounted box is basically 3.99 minus this discount, 0.598, which is $3.39. Okay. So this is the cost after the discounted is applied to one box, because that only applies to one box. So one box is 339, but she bought a total of three, so we have to add the additional two. The additional two is the original price because only the discount is only available for one box. So don't get confused. So the other two boxes are still $3.99. And when you put it all together, you get $11.37. D. 26. Emma donates 3/10 of her allowance to charity. If she donates $15, what is her total allowance? So this one you can't use the formula new minus old over old times by 100. Um, yeah, you can't use the new minus old over 100. Instead, you'll use this. I'm going to use this formula. So the total allowance is the donation amount over the donation percentage. Okay, so our donation amount was $15, and then our percentage was 3/10. So we kind of have like a complex fraction, that's fine. So here's 15 is your numerator, 3/10 is your denominator. So you can rewrite this as 15 divided by 3 over 10. This has an invisible one. And then remember when you're dividing fraction, you cross multiply. So what's 15 times 10? 150. What's 1 times 3 is 3. And then what's 150 divided by 3 is 50. So her allowance was $50. Okay, so that's that. Let's move on to the last one. Well, this one's okay. A dinner bill without tax and tip totals 45.60. If a 20% tip is added after an 8% tax is included in the amount, how much is the tip? So yeah, that's a little bit tricky. So what you got to do first is find the cost after the 8%. So first, okay, so it's basically 8% of 4560, right? So 8% of 4560. Okay. 8% as the decimal is 0.08 of means multiplication. And that gives you 3648. Okay. So so with the tax, um, so it's going to be 4560 plus 3648, which is 4925. Okay. Then what we're going to do is calculate the 20% tip of a new price. So it's basically 20% of 49.25. So that's really 0.20 times by 49.25. So that gives you 985. So 985 is your tip. Okay. So first I found the cost after the 8%. So yeah, we don't know what the tax is. So 8% of 4560 is 3648. So $3.64 64 cents is the tax. So add that with the original price 4560 and you get 49.25. Then you figure out the tip. So you do 20% of your new costs, 20% of 49.25, which is $9.85. And that's how you know they tipped that much. Okay, we are done. Okay, I'm gonna stop here. Yeah, we should definitely give a yeah, we got 100. Okay, so I'm gonna stop here and I'll let you go.